Welcome to Module 5. If you have been through Module 4, you will remember where we left FeedLoop, Gate 4, a build decision, and one named iteration committed before proceeding. The evidence panel redesign that Stage 3 had flagged as the remaining usability issue. This module picks up exactly there and walks Stage 4, Handoff. What happens when the decision to build has been made? And then what happens after? Because Stage 4 is not the end of discovery, it is the beginning of the next cycle. Before we go forward, I want to go back for just a moment. One of the 4 validation dimensions scored lower than the rest. The team made a specific commitment before they proceeded. That commitment is what separates a build decision from a hopeful one. FeedLoop had a build decision. Stage 4 picks up exactly there. For the first time in this series, the full process is complete. Every stage accounted for, every gate marked with its outcome. I want to draw attention to something before we move into Stage 4. Every gate in this diagram has an outcome. Gate 1, proceed. Gate 2, proceed. Gate 3, proceed. Gate 4, build. These are real decisions with real evidence behind them. They are not procedural stamps. Stage 4 is where everything the discovery produced becomes what delivery receives. But this is also worth saying plainly. Stage 4 is not the last stage on a checklist. It is where the first cycle closes and where the next one opens. This story matters, so I want to take a moment with it. Before FeedLoop formalized their discovery process, they built an early version of a synthesis feature. Engineering received a 2-page spec and built what they understood from it. The feature worked technically, but it missed what mattered. The evidence display that made AI output trustworthy. The edit controls that gave users agency over AI conclusions. The confidence indicators that calibrated user expectations. Discovery had identified all 3. None of them transferred. Users tried the feature, found it did not quite fit, and stopped using it. When the team asked why, they heard the same things they had heard in discovery research. The problems were known. The insights existed. The evidence was there. It just had not crossed the gap. 2 months of rework. Not a documentation failure, a knowledge transfer failure. Naming that distinction honestly, in the retrospective, in front of the team, took the kind of self-awareness the human foundation asks for at every genuinely hard moment. That is the distinction I want this slide to land before we move on. The distinction is not subtle and it is not procedural. When only the what transfers, the delivery team improvises. And improvisation built on incomplete understanding undoes discovery's work one small decision at a time. The delivery team did not run the 13 interviews. They did not sit in the Gate 2 conversation. They did not watch the usability struggle with the evidence panel. They need the why, not just the what. That is what Stage 4 is for. Let me show you what it transfers. The Handoff Package are the discovery output artifacts arriving, not new work. Many teams get this wrong. They treat Stage 4 as a documentation sprint. A final push to write everything up before handing off. That is backwards. If the process was followed, most of the package already exists. Stage 0 produced the problem definition. Stage 1 produced the research findings and opportunity scores. Stage 2 produced the solution rationale, design specifications, prototype. Stage 3 produced the validation evidence and the confidence dashboard. Stage 4 assembles what is already there and adds what is genuinely new. Success criteria, known risks, technical translation guide, experience intent document. 9 components. Each one serves a purpose. The voiceover names all 9. On screen, 4 represent the categories. Skip any of them and the delivery team fills the gap with assumptions. Documents capture what was decided. Conversations transfer why. Most organizations treat handoff as a filing event. The documents are emailed. A brief walkthrough happens if there is time. Then delivery proceeds. FeedLoop's handoff included a formal session. They walked engineering through the prototype, the evidence, and the why behind each design decision. They explained which friction was intentional and why removing it would break the feature. The evidence verification step that users had to complete was not a usability problem. It was a trust mechanism. That conversation is what made the prototype a genuine handoff asset. The delivery team left understanding not just what to build, but why it had to feel the way it did for the user experience. The 5 anchors on screen are not a template. They are the categories of what a genuine knowledge transfer conversation covers. The simplest test of whether success was predefined. Could the team have told you before launch what would constitute success? Or did the definition arrive after the results did? If success is defined after launch, it will match whatever happened. That is not accountability. That is rationalization. FeedLoop's criteria came directly from their validation work. Synthesis completion under 10 minutes. Evidence satisfaction above 4 out of 5. Feature adoption above 60% at 90 days. Those criteria existed before a line of code was written. Stage 4 also documents known risks, not as a liability exercise, but as a monitoring plan. Who owns each uncertainty? What signal would trigger a response? FeedLoop documented intercom integration as partial and enterprise scalability as uncertain. The delivery team knew exactly what to watch. Predefining success and documenting risk are what make post-launch learning honest rather than selective. The last of Stage 4's 4 activities is the one most teams skip, the discovery retrospective. It is not a project post-mortem, it is a process review. What did we learn about how we do discovery? What would we do differently? Where were our judgments well calibrated, and where were they not? FeedLoop's retrospective produced 3 insights that entered their discovery playbook. Test feasibility early. Trust is earned, not assumed. Define good enough, then test against it. Those 3 insights are specific enough that a future team could read them and run a different cycle without repeating the same mistakes. That is what a good retrospective produces. Institutional learning that does not require everyone to have lived through it. The retrospective is where learnings are captured. Acting on them is what makes the process better. Stage 4 completes the first discovery cycle. But delivery is not the end. It is the beginning of the next one. The teams who treat discovery as a project, something done before building begins, forfeit the compounding returns that come from closing the loop. FeedLoop's post-launch monitoring became their next Stage 0 signal. Let us see how. FeedLoop shipped AI synthesis and monitored against their predefined success criteria. At 30 days, 72% achieving the completion time target, below the 80% goal. Qualitative feedback revealed the explainability gap. Users wanted to understand why AI grouped things the way it did. The team released an Explain This Pattern feature. At 60 days, 85% completion, above target. Retention at 58%, slightly below. At 90 days, 62% retention, above the 60% criterion. 3 to 4 hours per week saved on feedback synthesis. The learning, the explainability gap was a usability issue that should have been caught in Stage 3. The feed forward, every future AI feature will include explainability testing in Stage 3, not as an afterthought but as a standard. Post-launch learning can become the next discovery cycle's starting signal. The process does not restart, it deepens. 5 stages, 4 gates, 24 activities, 1 full cycle in motion. FeedLoop went from a churn signal to a shipped product delivering 62% retention and 3 to 4 hours saved per week. Discovery did not make that outcome certain, it made it earned. The value of this framework is not in any single cycle. It is in what happens across cycles. Each one sharpens the team's judgment. The explainability gap they missed in Stage 3 will not be missed again. The feasibility assumption they tested in Week 4 will run in Week 1 from now on. That compounding is what discovery as practice produces.